afternoon, or maybe good evening, depending where you are in the world. Here we are back with hot and spicy chat on dating and relationships with fabulous and awesome Cristina Davy and myself, Olga Geidane. And today we have another amazing topic for you, and we are wondering what are your thoughts on this topic? Cristina, would you like to announce it today?
Absolutely. Well, only this week I spoke with four different people in this situation. So I think, it's a good idea to talk about it. So many people are struggling to know when it's good to finish off a relationship. So today, this is the topic. We thought we're going to tackle it for you and give you some awareness because I know it's hard. Sometimes we're just in love. We feel like, we're so committed, we have a history together, and it's just so hard to know when to step out. So hopefully tonight, well, it's almost night here, we can actually bring that to help you, support you take a decision, which is, let's just be honest, not an easy one. Is in Olga.
Oh, absolutely. I've been through a couple of breakups, and every single time I must tell you, it's not easy at all. It takes a lot of courage to break
Mm.
up the relationship, and also you got to be ready. But also, very often we're so doubtful because so often we're thinking we invested so much time. We already know each other. Our children already know each other. We know each other's families. We live together. There's so many things that actually stop you from finishing off the relationship, but there are some relationships that you're better off finishing off than carrying on with them. And that's exactly what we want to talk today about. Because of course, both of us, we stand for building beautiful relationships, long lasting,
Mm.
something that actually will be there forever and ever. They'll be the dream, right? But some of
Yes,
the
for sure.
relationships, exactly. But some of them you shouldn't continue. Like you absolutely shouldn't. And I would like to start with violent relationships, right?
Mm.
That's number one relationship that you absolutely should stop today. Okay, there is no way you should be okay with violence. There is no way you should be compromising on your safety. There's no way you should be compromising on your children. And the best
Mm.
question to ask yourself is when it comes to violent relationship, if it is violent or not, because very often you don't even realize it is violent, right? Just ask yourself this question. If my child would be in this type of relationship, would I want them to continue with that relationship?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah,
And that will
absolutely,
bring a
totally.
good perspective because very often we cannot see ourselves being in a violent relationship. But when we think about our children, then we think, no, I wouldn't want my child to go through that. That means run. That
Mm.
means run. So, violent relationship is the number one relationship you got to finish off today. What
I
do you
will
think?
go even. Yeah, absolutely. That's a given. And sometimes I think if there was a history of violence in your childhood, you might not even realize, that you can have it any other way because you could excuse the behavior by telling yourself something that, oh, I've done something to deserve this. I didn't show up in a
Hmm.
way and I might be deserving this. So you might not even really be able to see the difference. But I'll go a bit deeper than that and just say that sometimes it's not violent, physical violence. Sometimes it's emotional abuse, and emotional abuse is it's, I'll say, almost as bad as physical abuse because. Um, it can belittle you, it can put you down, it can totally uh, affect your sense of self-worth, and it can send you in a spiral of negative emotions towards yourself, towards others, depression, panic attacks. So what is an emotional abuse is, well, verbal abuse, right? So any type of yelling or insulting or labels, right? That's not okay. Constant rejection. Be mindful. If you're constantly rejected. If you don't get any sort of affection, if you're not being heard in any sort. If you are feeling gaslighting. A lot of people are talking about being gaslighting now. Someone is denying your reality, what you feel, what you're experiencing in your relationship by telling you, hey, you're crazy. It makes you feel, that's exactly what you're going to feel. You're going to feel like crazy. You're going to feel like, you don't know what's real anymore and what's not, right? So you're going to feel like you want to hide rather than talk to anyone, because you'll have so much guilt and shame about discussing your feelings. Also, there might be social abuse. You might get put down in public. Something which is often, people who don't know how to self-regulate. Which, may I just say, I want to admit that I was one of them. I didn't even have awareness. So most of the time, people don't even realize that they are doing that. And anything that can cause you any sort of fear, any kind of threat. It could be financially, it could be they're isolating you. All of these come under the umbrella of emotional abuse, and it has to be taken very serious, because it affects a lot of people, and not just the adults but also the children. So let's just put a stop to it, and let's just raise more awareness around what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in a relationship. What do you think, Olga?
I absolutely agree with you, Christina, and you're so spot on. Sometimes you don't even have awareness that you are in abusive relationship because A, you got used to, just like you rightly said, and B, very often people, their partner might explain why they do it. I do it because you piss me off, right? Or I do it because you annoyed me, right? So they blame you for them doing something to you, which is an
Mm-hmm.
excuse. It is an excuse because there's no way, nothing ever can give them excuse to treat you the way they treat when they are abusive, right? So you definitely got to be very mindful. And once more, again, you got to ask yourself these. I find these checking questions really powerful. Would I want my child to go through this relationship? Like, because you really want to overprotect your child, right? And when you think about your child being in that type of relationship, let's say your partner is not physically abusive, but they're calling you names. And when you ask yourself, would I want my child to be called names? The answer is a no, right? So if that's a no for your child, it's a no for you too. But
Yeah,
it's just time
yeah,
to
that's
open
true.
your eyes. So I agree with you,
Mm-hmm.
darling. Abusive relationship is definitely one of those that you definitely and certainly got to finish off as soon as possible. And I know very often partners are threatening you either by killing you or killing your family or doing some harm, whatever else. It got to be reported. Usually they treat you like that because they know they have power over you. And of course, domestic abuse is something unfortunately goes across absolutely all races, all backgrounds, all countries, all religions, you name it, it's everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in most cases, these are just words. We got to remember that in most cases, these are just words. Just 1 second, got to have a sip of water. So you got to remember the reason why they want to keep you fearful that they will do something is because they want to have power over you. Okay, you got to
Mm-hmm.
report that, you got to find safety, and you got to finish off that relationship because unfortunately, it's not gonna last. It's not gonna last. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's important to mention as well, another time when you want to consider, just ending the relationship is actually when there's no willingness to own their part in, you know, what is. So I think both partner needs to come to the realization like we both created this. It's not just you and it's not just me. Somehow at one point, we both dropped the ball. And by owning that, you both could make some changes, usually comes a willingness of like, okay, so how can we change this? We can work with someone to become more aware of, give us some tools, right? But sometimes you're not having that willingness. One person can't own anything and there's just blaming. So if there's just blaming and no ownership of how they contributed, you need to you need to leave, because you're not going to get anywhere. It's The situation is going to stay the same. You both need to change something, not just one but both of you. Either it might be that you have to get better at having boundaries. Usually it comes down to communicating better, expressing, better standards, better, expressing feelings, expressing what you need, your needs to your partner. So if it's no willingness to go and get some support and on and change and focus just on what you can change, then I will definitely leave that relationship because you're just gonna waste your time.
I agree with you. And even though you might be thinking to yourself, well, who else will be with me, right? Nobody else will love me. Well, that's because you were manipulated and you were brainwashed the entire relationship. Okay, that is
Mm.
nonsense. You will find somebody, you'll be happy with somebody else. You're not like going to be now a lonely person on the entire planet. Out of 8 billion people in the world, there'll be at least one more person that will like you. Let's admit it, okay? But I know that very often we have this fear. What if I will leave this unhappy, maybe violent, maybe abusive relationship and I'll be by myself for the entire life? Nonsense. You will be not. You will be not. If you were told that to the entire relationship, that's a different story. Okay. That means right now you got to go out there and work on your confidence. You got to work out there and work on your self-worth. And that's why that's another type of relationship that should be finished off as soon as possible, is where you're manipulated, where you're brainwashed, where you constantly put down. As I mentioned earlier on, that's verbal abuse, right? But there are relationships when you are with somebody like a narcissist that is constantly playing games with you, right? Pathological liars. If you're with them,
Yeah.
I would suggest so run. You can't change them.
Mm.
You absolutely cannot change them. I've been there before. I was hoping they will change. No, divorce was the answer. Divorce was the answer because you can't carry on. And also, you're not responsible for changing other people. But if you see a narcissist is putting you down, is brainwashing you, is making you believe nobody else will be out there with you, pathological liars, constantly lying to you, not treating you with respect, because otherwise they would tell you the truth, then run. You can find a
Mm.
lot better and healthier relationship with somebody else. And trust me, there is not such a thing as this is the best person in the world whilst they are mistreating you.
And you have to
You cannot.
realize that if there is no consistent, yeah, absolutely, like Olga, you are spot on in regards to that. But you have to also realize that if there's no change at all, so they might admit, they might admit that, yeah, I need to change and I need to do something different, right? Or it's my fault this is happening, especially when it comes to addictions like drugs, alcohol, gambling, anything like that. So they might admit to it. They might say, yeah, yeah, I have to change this. But then you're not seeing the change. You just see, you know, the same pattern. Like they do it and then they don't do it. They do it and they don't do it. Um, that's something they need to work on, and it could take a really long time. So how much longer are you willing? You need to ask yourself, how much longer am I going to put his needs or her needs above mine, right?
Spot on.
How many years, I spoke with someone today, and she's been in this situation for 10 years. She was saying, and 10 years is a long time. 10 years, it's like something. I mean, how many, think about it, how many great experiences have you actually missed out? And the reason why sometimes we stay in those situations is because we feel significant, because we rescue the other person, because we feel like they need us. And again, we put their needs above us. Meanwhile, our life is just literally slipping through our fingers. So if you don't see any follow up, any progress in them, what they're promising and what they're saying they're going to do and what is, then that's a time to leave as well, uh,
I agree with
for
you.
sure.
Absolutely, for sure, without even questions asked and without double checking. I mean, of course, it's important to see what can be done, but if you see that they're only apologies without any change, it just simply means they learn the pattern of just saying sorry and they learn that they can get away with that. If there's no a
Mm,
change following the apology, it's meaningless apology. It's absolutely meaningless. You got to see some
mm,
sort of change in a way of really accepting that they really are feeling that they want to change, but they're struggling. Because again, let's remember, anything we deal with was there long term within us. So if we want to change, it takes some time to change. But tiny step is better than no step. So if you see no
Mm.
steps at all taken towards the change, it means there will not change. And that also leads to another thing, which is infidelity and broken trust and relationship, right? Again, it's another thing that many people get trapped into because of their own unresolved issues and insecurities. They seek outside attention, they seek outside whatever else, right? Because they have an issue. Very often, they will blame you for, oh, I do it because we don't have intimacy, or I do it because you don't give me what I need within the home, right? But the truth is, have you spoken about it? Right? It's very easy to blame another person. I do it because you don't give me something. But if you haven't had a conversation about it, it's just an excuse, right?
Why
And
you
if you
not giving
see,
me something?
yeah, exactly, right? You got to
What's the
talk
reason why
about
it's
it.
not happening?
Yeah, you're not a mind reader. You can't read their mind what they want. If they don't tell you, then how you supposed to know? And the same other way around, right? You got to have communication in your relationship. Probably we should highlight this as number one thing. If you don't have communication in your relationship, you should run. Okay, because you're supposed to have communication in your relationship. Okay, forget other type of relationships. But seriously,
But that can
if
be
you,
changed, isn't like you can
of
improve your
course,
communication. You can learn about it if you're willing to
absolutely,
admit that actually I need to improve my own communication style. So
yeah,
and take some action towards
yeah.
that.
Exactly. Because there's no such a thing as, oh, I'm going cheating because I don't have enough of that at home. No, you're going cheating because you have unresolved issues and you're not capable because of the same issues to talk about it at home, right? Or to
Mm-hmm.
find a way, because let's admit it, there are five different types of sexuality, right? Sexual blueprints. So you got to know your sexual blueprint, you got to know your partner's sexual blueprint, and you got to know how to speak those blueprints. You got to understand each other sexual languages, let's put it this way, right? And if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't done that work, but instead you choose to go and cheat, well, girl or boy, run. Because that means no matter what you do, they'll be always finding a reason. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
I know sometimes we're thinking maybe it was a one-off, maybe they were drunk, maybe it just happened, maybe it just slipped in. No, it doesn't. There's no accidents with that, right? It takes conscious decision to go and cheat, whether it is flirting or whether it is full-on sexual act, right? But when it comes to this type of relationship, I would say yes, it's good to understand why it happened, for you to also see why have you attracted that type of partner, just like with violence, just like with abuse. Why have you attracted that sort of partner? But if you don't see a change, run. Just
Mm-hmm.
run.
And I think the last thing that I will, yeah, that will be, I think you need to ask yourself, what do you tolerate that behavior? You know, what are you telling yourself? You keep hoping they change. You know, in most cases, we hope they will be changing. But as we know now, we gotta be the ones changing, right? We're gonna be the ones who realize, okay, well, if I can't leave this, maybe I need to get empowered too, right? So I'm going to give you this much time. I need to see progress, and it needs to be a way of how we can measure this progress. Because if you just say, yeah, I'm changing, but there's no progress, then you gotta ask yourself what's happening. You know, how much longer and I'm gonna stay here tolerating this. And the last thing I wanted to mention is sometimes we simply don't want the same things. You
Mm-hmm.
know, sometimes the one partner wants to focus more on career, one partner wants to focus more on family, and somehow for them that's not compatible, because for some others that's perfectly okay, right? They have their relationship model, it's perfect. Okay, you want to stay home taking care of the kids while I'm working, no problem at all, let's do this. But sometimes it's just no same direction, you know. You might want kids, you might not want kids, you might want to explore the world, you might not, you know. One wants more variety, more fun, more adventure. The other one wants to just stay home, watch Netflix, which is each one is totally okay. It's just like ultimately, do we want the same things in life? You know, do we want to achieve more together as a couple, individually? Is it, are we both driven, ambitious? You know, I think this comes more and more now with personal development as well, when you get one partner getting involved as well and the other one not, and then there's this big gap in between, you know, levels of awareness, communication, what you know, what you experience, the way you speak. So the gap gets bigger and bigger. So we look at we look at the breakup as a bad thing, but it's just the beginning of a great thing most of the time. if we
Mm.
have a bit of guidance or we know how to do things. So be clear on your life goals so you can communicate it to the other person. When you become clear on your life goals, then you can ask the other person, hey, what is it that you want, and are we moving towards the same direction? That's also very important. So is it anything else that you think needs to be mentioned, Olga?
I love the fact you addressed that because I think it's really important to be aware of it, Christina. And probably the last thing that I would like to address here before we finish off that is before we finish off the relationship, it's easy to finish off the relationship, and some of them, as we already discussed, should be finished off, right? But before you finish off, practice shifting yourself to a new identity, right?
Mm,
Because what we don't want to take the old you with your old unresolved traumas, with your old unresolved issues, with your old relationship blueprint, going into the new relationship, because that will
yes.
be the biggest mistake. Very often we're thinking, okay, that man or woman, they were abusive, I'll go next relation, they'll be not. But if you have a story, programming within you that is attracting those type of people, you will keep attracting them. So before you finish off your current relationship, my strong suggestion always is work on yourself. Discover as much as you can about yourself, learn as much as you can about yourself, and practice brand new behavior in your current relationship, because you got to practice somewhere, and you don't want to go into the new relationship without a practice only to self-sabotage yourself, because the next relationship could be your relationship of your lifetime, but if you haven't had
Mm,
that practice, you're gonna screw it up, right? So before you
absolutely. Yeah.
finish off, practice your new identity, practice your new behavior, practice your new stories, become the brand new person in a current relationship, and then move on. So the last thing that I
Mm,
would like to say, to finish off relationship or not, of course it's up to you. Some of them, as we discussed, should be finished off, but make sure you learn about yourself, practice the new identity, and then move on. So let us know what you think. Let us know what have you experienced, and did you finish off some of the relationship, and was it, as Christina says, beginning of something else rather just the end? Because surely it
mm.
was. We look forward to hear from you soon.
Absolutely. And if you want to work on your relationship, if you have experienced infidelity, maybe you are experiencing lack of communication, maybe you want to find another way, maybe you just want to get some clarity about what is it that you can do in this particular situation that you are in. Please reach out to Olga. She has amazing programs that will support you understand yourself. I myself, she has helped me only just as recent and as 2 weeks, and it has been so powerful. So if you want to change something, again, don't just wait for the other person to change. You take action. You go get some clarity about yourself. So book a call with her. She will support you. Understand yourself and really feel at ease and align with your decision as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Christina. And likewise, if you're thinking right now, well, I'm not in a relationship, so what do I do? Am I left all myself? By myself? No, you're not. Because look at this awesome lady on the screen, Christina. She is amazing. Because if right now you're single and you're thinking, I would love to get into a relationship, I would love to be with somebody, but I'm not sure why I'm attracting the right person, or why I'm attracting all the wrong people, and how can I change that? Reach out to Christina, because she has the most amazing program, and she will help you to discover all the limitations, all the barriers, and all the things that stop you from attracting the best relationship in your life. So go ahead, please work with Christina, book a call. There's no obligation, you don't have to sign up for anything. Just book a call with Christina, have a conversation, and see how things will start changing after that for you. So thank you so
Mhm.
much for watching us today. We're going to be next time with another hot and spicy topic on dating and relationships next Thursday, same time, same place.